Welcome to another episode of I Am Nano.
Hindi I am Nano. I'm your host, Irfani.
And I am your other host, Monica.
Today, we will be discussing superhydrophobic coatings using nanofluids. And what is special about this research is that it comes from easily accessible materials such as silica.
Yes, silica, a very common term we've probably heard about, but it's SiO2. And these SiO2 nanoparticles were implemented in this work to create coatings that are very difficult to get wet, so highly hydrophobic. The contact angles of a water droplet on an ultra or super hydrophobic material or surface exceeds 150 degrees. Now, this observation is also referred to as the lotus effect because this is named after the superhydrophobic leaves of the lotus plant.
Mm-hmm. And as we mentioned in the last episode, the contact angle basically describes the angle at which water droplet rests above the substrate surface. The larger the angle, the more hydrophobic, and the smaller the angle, the more wet, more hydrophilic.
Exactly. And surfaces with really enhanced wettability have a wide range of uses. So funny enough, something that is the most water-loving of surfaces is your sugar, your salt, your starch, your cellulose, so things you can cook with. So you don't want to be baking with something hydrophobic after all, because then that wouldn't mix with anything. And there's also your kitchen countertops, that those are hydrophobic in nature because you don't want them absorbing all the water and all the other liquids that you're cooking with. And now all this to say that regulating the water absorption of porous surfaces, such as from your countertops, your rock and granite ones, has become a significant research interest because of the natural absorption of fluids into porous materials such as the rocks.
Great. And what doesn't mix in the kitchen? Oil and water. And an enormous quantity of oil-water mixtures is now produced globally by petroleum, agricultural, pharmacological, and other sectors. And so the improper disposal of these kind of waste causes serious environmental and contamination risks.
Exactly. So what can we use to separate these type of oil and water waste mixtures? Well, there are techniques that do exist, and they're known as membrane isolation, sedimentation, and there's also this one called hydrocyclone isolation. So those are some of the top ones. But these techniques, they have limitations, such as, limited separation effectiveness, very high cost, or added even pollution to the environment. So there's these limits, and that kind of limits their usage, and it has encouraged scientists to look at or research improved methods such as nanofluids for oil and water separation.
And so the study conducted at the University of Delhi in Tehran examined the wetting qualities of 3 distinct ultra-repellent nanofluids made from polydimethylsiloxane, abbreviated as PDMS, modified silicon dioxide particles, nanoparticles, which are also known as silica. And so these silica nanostructures have a large contact area and exhibit natural surface reactivity, allowing for straightforward chemical alterations.
Exactly. And PDMS is a very hydrophilic silicon polymer. It's also very viscoelastic, and it's able to chemically modify nanoparticles to give a very strong water repellent characteristic. It can also give mechanical endurance and has shown to also add thermodynamic stability to the particles. Now, the researchers created superhydrophobic coatings on diverse substrates using these silica nanoparticles and PDMS composite mixture.
And the coating was applied using a simple and inexpensive solution immersion onto rock samples. To characterize the samples, they use X-ray diffraction, XRD, scanning electron microscopy, SEM, and atomic force microscopy, AFM, to examine the structure of the surface chemistry, the structure and abrasion of the coated samples.
And the nanofluid coatings that were developed were shown to have very awesome liquid repellent activity, self-cleaning, as well as effective anti-fouling. So anti-fouling is a term that is used to describe when we prevent bacterial growth onto a surface. And technique is commonly used for anti-fouling paints that we use at the bottom of ships. So we don't have bacteria or algae, growing at the bottom of the ship. So that improves the movement of, your ship on the water. So that's a very common terminology used there. So after contacting the substrate, a water droplet launched from 1 centimeter over the hydrophobic surface, our new water repellent surface with the coating. It bounced off really easily and slid right off. So just as you see in those videos with a lotus leaf and the water droplet kind of running off. So exactly like that.
Yeah. It's kind of cute in my opinion.
Yeah.
So this improved liquid repellency is due to the influence of lower surface energy molecules and the construction of a layered nano submicron architecture favorable to the production of air pockets on the coating surface.
Exactly. And the very nice SEM and AFM images that were shown in this work. So definitely try to take a look at that. Now, using the coating material on a mesh surface, actually, the researchers observed efficient separation of diverse oil and water mixtures. Now, the coating was also found to be cost-effective and really easy to apply. And those two aspects together suggest that the coating is very strong physiochemically, has good stability and barrier properties. And, that could be produced for multifunctional coatings, which have a lot of promise in several commercial and practical applications.
And it's really useful for coating rocks for the granite countertops that we might be using. And who would have thought that we could actually use nanomaterials there? Never really thought about that. But also the separation of oil water waste, that is very, very important. All right. And that is all the data for today. Take care.
And stay curious.